Hello, everyone. Greetings. I am here with Christine Lee, who is the founder of a wonderful company called Mentaya. Mentaya brings affordable mental health care to insurance-based clients. It is an app that you can put on your therapist website that allows potential clients to check their benefits and see if they are able to get out-of-network benefits. So you as a therapist can charge your full rate and you can earn what you deserve while still providing that high quality mental health care to people in need who might not be able to actually afford your full rate, your services. And it eliminates the need for super bills, and it eliminates the need for all sorts of paperwork on your end, and allows you to get more clients more easily. And to me, that's a wonderful, wonderful thing, because everybody wins. You as the therapist wins, your client wins. And yeah, I'll let Christine share more about what the app does and why she founded it and all of that. But really, I just wanted to introduce Christine in this incredible business of hers. I think it's probably been about a year since I first met you, more or less, when you were getting started, and I've just loved watching your journey. As a businessman and entrepreneur, especially just seeing, you know, I know I don't have really much to do with your company, but at the same time, I feel like, oh yeah, I've watched them grow, and it's just so amazing to see how many therapists I speak to now. I say Mentaya, like, oh yeah, of course, right? I've heard of that. That's great. So it's just wonderful to see it all evolve, and I'm so excited for you, and just to be a small part of your journey. And enough about me. I want to hear about you and your journey and your company. So I'd love to just start with, why Mentaya? Like what is the meaning of the name of the company, and what inspired you to found it? Anything you'd like to share in that world?
Yeah, so first of all, thank you so much for having me. And it's been awesome. Just, I know last time hello? Okay. I don't know where you went, but I guess I can continue chatting. Um, actually, I don't, what is going on? Oh,
There we go.
hey. I was like, do I keep talking? Are you there?
This is real right here. This is the real what goes on outside. The coffee cup, the dress shirt strewn over there. Everybody watching and you gets here's the curated version. Like I said, I just got new technology, and with new technology, as someone who lives in the tech world, I'm sure you can relate, comes technology snafu. So please continue. And if I do go off again, know that you are still streaming, and you can keep talking, and I will be doing everything in my power to get back on.
Okay, sounds good. I will say your audio is a little, um,
Okay.
sounds like it's really far away, as a heads up. But yes, happy to continue as
There
is.
we go. Is that better?
Yes, yes, a lot better. Um, but yes, so what I was saying was I appreciate you being sort of on this journey with me so far. I know last time we chatted, I think it was about a year ago, or maybe even a little bit more, and we've definitely grown a lot since then. And I really appreciate your support throughout this whole process. But I know that you were asking me sort of how I started Mentaya, why I decided to even start Mentaya, a little bit about my journey. So I come from a world, the tech world. So I used to work at Google as a product manager, and that was a great job. But I think for me, I've always known that I wanted to do something that was more meaningful to me personally. Like I love Google's mission, and I loved working there, but I really wanted to do something in the mental health space at some point. And that sort of stems from just growing up. I grew up in, uh, I went to high school in an area where we had a lot of mental health issues, and and this was before mental health was, so normalized and openly talked about. It was still kind of stigmatized back then. I don't think people even really knew what mental health was. Like, it was just kind of understood that there were some issues. We had some teen suicides at my school, and kind of talked about it but didn't really talk about it. And as someone who was, I don't know, it's like 13, didn't really know how to deal with it. I had actually just moved to a new school, and so I didn't even grow up in that area, so I definitely just had a big impression on me. And I think later on in college and after college, I started just naturally having this interest in mental health and wanting to see if there was something I could do about it to make mental health care more accessible, but in a way that's, helpful for therapists as well and empowers them to grow their businesses, because I know it's not just about accessibility for clients, it's also about supporting the people who are the ones actually helping out all these people with mental health. And so that's sort of the reason why I got into this general space.
Yeah, I've read a bit of the details of the story, and it sounds like just yeah, it sounds like a really powerful origin story of why you started it, to be able to give this gift to other people that was not available to you as a child. And well, obviously we don't have our time machine, but like what would life be like for so many people if they did have that accessibility? And if growing up decades ago, if mental health was more talked about as it is today and more readily accessible in this world of online therapy too.
Yeah, I think about this a lot where mm, it's hard to say that, like, oh, if it was a lot more accessible, things would have definitely been gone a certain way. But what I feel pretty confident in is that it would have been different, right? Like, I think there's just, especially as a teenager going through, there's a lot you go through as a teenager. And I think back then it was not even just about like financial accessibility. It was about just the lack of, people didn't really talk about it. There was stigma. I found out later that a lot of my friends actually were, dealing with depression and other things. And just like some of my close friends, we never really talked about it. We didn't even really have, I think, the language to talk about it. And I think now, just in general, the way our society is trending, especially after COVID, we've all sort of gone through it together. I think it's great that a lot of mental health is getting destigmatized and very normalized, and it's almost like cool to go to therapy now. And so I think that was a big thing back then. There's like a big financial aspect to it where therapy is oftentimes very expensive. I live in San Francisco. Most therapists don't take insurance. It's like $250, if not more, per session for therapy, which is not the most affordable for clients. But I also get it. It's a really expensive city to live in. And so, of course, therapists need to be able to charge enough to sustain themselves. And so that was really a big reason why I started Mentaya specifically within the mental health space, because I wanted to help make therapy more accessible to people, but in a way that also supported therapists and empowered them to make their full fee, to make a good living, because we can't have a world in which therapists are burning out and not making enough and people are leaving the field. I'm so grateful for therapists for being sort of the support system for like our country, our world, especially through COVID. And I think, they deserve to be rewarded and empowered, and we want to be able to do that for them.
Yeah, and a beautiful, what you're mentioning too, just about students in high school and the stigma and all of that, and it being, I've got an 8-year-old and a 4-year-old, or she's just about 5, and I just think about what it's going to be like for them in high school, remembering what it was like for me in high school in the early 90s, where it was just suck it up, don't talk about it, like just. We don't really deal with feelings, or you have to go talk to the guidance counselor, which basically means you did something wrong and you're in trouble. And that's why, or like if anyone's in therapy, it's because the school said you're a trouble child and you have to go to therapy. And I'm definitely speaking from my own experience here of what mental health meant to me as a teenager. And just in addition to our children growing up in this world where it's more talked about, right? The another just advantage of increasing the accessibility of therapy to adults, not just for them to be able to put their children in therapy, is, I think of it as we are raising this collective awareness, this common language, this emotional intelligence of our society by allowing and helping more people get into therapy. And then as a parent, like, where does that naturally trickle down to the next generation? It changes the way I speak with my children. It changes the way that I interact with other parents and, the my outlook and my way of looking at the world and how that's imparted to my children. So when they are in high school, words like, whether it's depression or anxiety, or the sort of more 8-year-old and 5-year-old versions that we're working with, about just about big feelings, about didn't like that, about we have our nightly ritual where we share what's alive for us and what's going on, right? Like these are the types of things that, yeah, I think is just an incredible gift of the added availability and accessibility of mental health in our world, in America specifically, since that's where Mentaya operates, but as a
Yeah.
whole.
And you're exactly right. I actually think about this a lot where I think it's shifted a bit, but I think before it was to your point, and I felt this exactly. You only go to therapy when there's something that was, very wrong, or like you were really struggling or you had really acute symptoms. People weren't really going to therapy as much in a almost more like preventative way. And I think about this a lot in terms of like medicine as well. It's like you ideally don't want to just go to the doctor because you are in the emergency room because, things have gone really wrong. I think part of accessibility is also getting help earlier or starting to realize, like I'm, maybe struggling with some things. I want to get help sooner so it doesn't get to the point where it's really bad and I have really acute symptoms. And I
Right.
think making therapy more accessible will help that. Otherwise, if it's not as accessible, people are just like, it's not really worth me jumping through all these hoops in order to be able to see a therapist. And so I think about that a lot as well, where it's like if things were caught earlier on or if people had
Right.
gone to therapy earlier before it got really bad, like would things have been totally different?
Right. Right. What is it? Not the emergency room. It's wellness care. It's maintenance. It's just a normal part of life. And you're helping people get there. And I think that's amazing. And I was thinking as you were saying that, I know it's slightly different, but I think it's in Japan or somewhere. And I don't quote me on this, but there's this like fee structure for medical providers where they actually get docked when people come to them sick. They get the raises or the bonuses when people come to them for regular preventative care and checkups,
Mm.
and it's rewarding the doctors for keeping people healthy rather than treating their sickness. So again, I don't know the exact structure of how their pay works, but like I heard that, and like what a novel concept for medicine as a whole, right? To be rewarded for not letting it get to mission critical.
Yeah, I think there's something similar. I don't want to go too off topic here, but I think it's, along the lines of value-based care instead of fee-for-service care and healthcare in general. But I also think about it from not just both the provider perspective, but also the patient or the client perspective, where maybe as a client, you're thinking, oh, well, I'm just not going to go because it's expensive. But by the time you go, you're sort of you have really acute symptoms, and that actually ends up costing you more than if we had just made it a little bit more accessible from a cost perspective and you were to go earlier. And then it's just like, okay, I don't actually need to, spend as much money. It's kind of unintuitive as well.
For sure.
Um, but we definitely just want to sort of there shouldn't be a reason why there feels like it has to be either the therapist is getting paid fairly and making what they deserve, or it's accessible. Like it feels like there doesn't need to be a choice between
Yeah.
those two.
Well, I agree completely, and thank you for reminding me. I tend to go down rabbit holes. So to just sort of to focus back in, like what is a best use case scenario for a therapist using Mentaya, right? Like I think everybody watching has a general idea now of what it is. Like if you're up for it, just to sort of dive into a little bit of the specifics of how the platform works. Yeah. So how does it work for a therapist? What's the scoop?
Yes. So one thing that I think is important for people to realize is that, like I said earlier, it's not like either you take insurance and you're in network or you're just cash pay. Like those are two options, but there is this whole world of out of network benefits that people don't really know about or talk about. And then think about just the US healthcare system. Most people don't even know what their in network benefits, let alone what these out of network benefits are. And so, what we're trying to do with Mentaya right now is to help educate both therapists and clients on out of network benefits, on how exactly to use them, how to like basically best use the benefits that clients have to make therapy as financially accessible as possible. And the way that we do that is through two main tools. The first one is we have this instant benefits calculator. As a client or as a therapist, you can put in your client's information in, and we'll automatically tell you what your out-of-network benefits are. Like, do you have out-of-network benefits? What's your deductible? You know, how many sessions you need to go do to meet your deductible, how much you get reimbursed afterwards. So this is really the educational component and just like awareness component of helping people realize, oh my gosh, I didn't realize that I even had this as an option, which in turn helps obviously convert more private pay clients for therapists who might be on the fence about paying, you know, a $250 session fee. But if they realize they go to a few sessions and they can start getting reimbursed, say 70% back, that's so much cheaper than they probably originally thought the cost of therapy was. So that's the first part, this educational component. And the second part is if your clients are like, I don't really know how to deal with super bills, I don't want to do it, or just this whole super bill process where I know a lot of therapists on their website, they sometimes say, I don't take insurance, I can give you a super bill. Here are a bunch of questions you can call your insurance company, and like, and kind of just like, I don't want to deal with it, like you deal with it, which is fully understandable. No one wants to deal with insurance, and there's a reason some therapists don't take insurance. But we want to take that burden off of the therapist and the client. And so you don't have to do it. Like, if your client wants to submit their super bill, they can. But a lot of clients are like, they forget about it, or they try, it gets rejected. It's this whole hassle that they're doing on top of therapy that they would rather just be like, I would love a service that can just do it for me. And so that's what we do. We take care of the whole process. We will fight insurance companies. We will call them. We'll make sure the claim gets through. If it gets denied or rejected for whatever reason, we need to send additional paperwork. We take care of all of that as well.
So I don't think I quite realized that not only are you providing the forward-facing, like, checking of the benefits, that you're actually the admin team behind the scenes to make sure that everything's running smoothly and dealing with those long hold times with the carriers and all of the nitty-gritty admin things that therapists don't ever want to do, nor would I want to do if I were a therapist.
Yeah, because if you think about it, so many therapists are in private practice, whether it's, you know, an individual practice or you're part of a small group practice. And if you just think about it from an efficiency perspective, it is so much more challenging and inefficient for every single therapist or every single client to go through and figure out how, like, all the ins and outs of insurance, to just be able to submit as a client like your one super bill, or as a therapist like a few for your clients, than it is to just have a company like ours where we're just constantly learning new things, getting more information, optimizing our processes to make sure that we're up to date with insurance, to be able to submit these successfully and take care of that. So that I'm presumably, as a therapist, you are not becoming a therapist because you want to deal with insurance or any of the admin work. You probably want to just focus on providing really high quality care to your clients. And as a client, you're not going to therapy, you're going to therapy, and you don't want to go have to then deal with your super bill and like, what is that? Call your insurance, try to get your money back. It's a painful process. So
when speaking with a lot of therapists that I work with too, it's like the problem with super bills is that there's this whole education concept. Is like, yes, and of course I've put tons of, I don't accept insurance, but I do super bill, little thing on the FAQs page. But then you get on a phone call with the client and it's like, okay, well, I don't even know what is a super bill. So then you have to educate the client and hold their hand through what is a super bill? How does a super bill work? And that's not what you're trying to do. So another thing that I love, in like a best case scenario, best use scenario that I see with a lot of my clients who are using Mentaya, is that when they're on one of those consult calls, an intake call, rather than saying like, okay, here's a link, you can go check it, if assuming the potential client is open to it, they can take out their card, they can read the number, the therapist can put this stuff and be like, okay, great. Well, you're going to get covered at X percentage, which brings your cost down to this. And it actually helps increase the, to put it in more business terms, it increases the closing ratio. It helps more clients, more dream clients become paying clients, because you're eliminating that middle step. You're not waiting for someone to get off the phone, do some thinking, do some research. Like, it's right here. I'm going to tell you my rate's $250, but you're going to get, like you said, 70% return. So I'm going to do my math real fast. That's, you're paying $80, whatever it is, out of pocket.
Yes, exactly. And I think you touch on a really critical point, which is from a just a pure business perspective, where
Mhm.
when you're talking to a prospective client, if you don't get them, like, on the phone, able to just commit to starting therapy, like, the chances that they end up coming back because they might be like, "I'll just talk to some other therapist. I don't really know if I wanna do like, thanks, like, I might, email you," and then you probably never hear back from them again. And so being able to just the benefits calculator, it's an educational component, but it's also a marketing tool for
Mhm.
therapists to better market themselves to their private pay clients that they want to see.
Yeah, I 100%. I recommend it to every therapist as a key part of their marketing plan on the website is to have the app to, you know, like why would you not have this as your as something that you can offer for that exact reason? Like I don't know the exact number, but it's so high the percentage that goes down of if you do not book that first appointment on that call, the percentage goes down at least, 75, 80% of them ever becoming a client. So I'm curious, that's one of some of my success. Like, do you have a favorite success story of a Mentaya user, a Mentaya therapist who, yeah.
Yeah, that's a good I have so many. I'm trying to think which one's my favorite one. Okay, there is one group practice owner that I talked to a while back who was telling us that their practice had increased the percentage of, private pay clients coming in through the door by something like 20 or 30% within the first couple of months of using Mentaya because they just realized that like, clients are like, "Oh my gosh, this is great." Like, it's basically if you think about the private pay client that comes in through your door, they're either like, "Oh, if I love the therapist, like, maybe I'll be willing to pay this amount," or they're just like, "Oh, like, this is kind of expensive. I have to" like, rarely people are like, "Oh, yeah, I'm" unless your client's extremely wealthy, like, "Oh, yeah, $300, no big deal," right? And
Times four a
so
month.
when they yeah, and so when they come in with that mentality and you almost like a pleasant surprise, I didn't know that this was actually a lot cheaper than I thought.
Mhm.
That definitely helps convert more clients, and I think hearing it from a customer in, like, specific numbers of, like, percentage after a certain number of months was really, really cool to see that they've actually, like, measured it and really seen the success. So that was super awesome to hear.
Cool. Yeah, I love it. I love it. Success stories are the best, right? It gives you the, as an entrepreneur, as a business owner, right? Like, yes,
Mhm.
it's actually working. I'm providing that value and making the world a better place, 20 to 30% increases at a time.
Yeah, it was really cool to hear that.
Okay, so here's another question, just sort of to bookend the Mentayo conversation is there are other companies out there that do similar services. So like, what is the Mentaya X factor, right? Like, what makes I know why I love your company over any of the others, but I'd love to hear for you, like, what is it that is the Mentaya X factor?
Ooh, so I think the main thing is that we have I don't I'm not saying the other companies don't care or aren't as, transparent or necessarily what their intentions are, but I think we really want to do right by our therapists and our clients. And what I mean by that, like specific examples are like our pricing. We're very, very transparent with our pricing. You can find it like on our website. It's extremely clear. There are no hidden fees. It's like very, very clear. We don't ever want people to feel like, oh, like I just didn't realize these fees. All the way from pricing to just like even customer support. Like we're very responsive. You can always hop on a call with us if you have questions, if you need a support call. Like we have buttons in our app that are like, we're here to support you. We also, something that I don't think other companies are doing, to my knowledge, is that we really want to help. And so for us, we charge a fee for submitting claims to we charge a fee to the client for submitting claims, but we that comes with a guarantee that the claim goes through successfully, whether it helps hit the deductible or get the client reimbursed, or we give a full refund of our fees. So we don't want to be in a situation in which we're charging and then the client's not really getting anything useful out of it. And so that is something that I think is very unique to us and just like really trying to help out. And we're not just a company that's like, oh, we're just trying to like make money off of therapists and clients. Of course, we have a business to run, but we really want to do right by our customers, and I think that's probably the main difference.
That's very close to what I would put as the Mentaya X factor is
Mm.
you and the team and the wonderful people over there that I've had the chance to get to know in the past year and more and all of them. Everyone over there is just they're wonderful people who I always enjoy my interactions with you, Christine, and with everyone on your team that I get to work with all the various things that we've done together over the time. And yeah, I think that that's really what sets you apart is just how friendly and approachable and just, I really resonate with the overall goal, with the mission of really at the end of the day, like, what is it? To make the world a better place. Like
Yeah.
as Pollyanna and cheesy as that may sound, like that's what it is. Like, how can we all in our own little ways make the world a better place? That's what therapists do every day. That's what you get to do by helping therapists. And hopefully, anybody watching this is in that same belief structure. And I know you are, because if you watch this much of a video about how to help more people, you clearly also want to make the world a better place. So is there anything else, any other last little things you want to touch on? Because otherwise, I think this has been a wonderful little conversation.
Yeah, no, this was great. Thank you so much for having me. This was really fun. I'm glad that we were able to go deep into some of the different things. So hopefully this was enjoyable to listen to as well.
Yay. All right. Well, if anybody would like to sign up for Mentaya or wants more information, of course, this is being streamed originally as a live on social media, but it's also going to be in a blog post. So either look in the comments of the social media post that you're seeing this on, or keep scrolling down on the blog post, and there's some information on how you can sign up for Mentaya, and there's a special offer down there for, what is it? I think it's a trial offer, so you can see what it's all about and give it a run. And of course, feel free to ask us any questions because we're always here to help. And thank you, Christine, from the bottom of my heart to you and everyone on the team for everything you do.
Thank you so much.
Bye, everybody.